Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, we are going to be discussing how to make money live betting. I'm gonna give you my playbook. I'm gonna give you my tips and tricks. So again, I love pre-match betting, right? You can make a lot of money pre-match. For example, I just locked in this play, Westberg to record an RBI. It was plus 150 on FanDuel. Every other sportsbook had this around plus 120. So the reason that profitable sports betting and data-driven people can make a lot of money gambling is because the betting market is so inefficient. Sports betting legalized in the US in 2018. Hundreds of books have launched: DraftKings, Fanatics, MGM, Prize Picks. All these books try to set their own lines and odds, and sometimes they screw up, right? The market is so fragmented, so inefficient. Now, this probably isn't surprising, but if sportsbooks can barely manage their odds pre-match, you have no idea how much money you can make live betting. Live betting while a game is going on, as players are subbing in and out, players are hitting home runs, all these crazy things, there is a lot of opportunity, massive line discrepancies. So live betting, whatever edge profit margin you can get pre-match, you'll at least be able to double that when you're live betting with sharp strategies like middle betting, arbitrage betting, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into my playbook for making money off the sports books while a game is going on, live betting, how to make money. So my first tip is really simple. Be logged into your sportsbook accounts and be ready to go. You should know how to navigate sportsbooks, get to bets quickly. Why does that matter? Well, it's really simple. When you're betting on live games, the odds move really fast. If you think about an NBA game, with every missed shot, every three-pointer made, the total needs to adjust, the spread needs to adjust. So long story short, you gotta be really fast as a live sports bettor. You need to know how to navigate the books and lock in bets quickly before the odds change or the sportsbook locks the market. So this may seem stupid, it may seem trivial, but when I started live betting, I would practice with really small bet sizes, navigating sportsbooks, stuff like that. At this point, OddsJam has one-click bet, which is basically just a feature. I mean, you click the bet button and it will take you right to the wager on the sportsbook so you can lock it in quickly. But this is critical, and it may seem trivial once again, but when I was a trader, when I was working on Wall Street, if there's a really good trade, you better get it quick, because guess what? There's people who work at other trades who can take that trade before you, and you just missed out on a ton of money. So speed, being logged into your sportsbooks is really important. If you see an amazing NFL arbitrage bet, you're not gonna have time to log into DraftKings, go find it manually, log into FanDuel, pull up a calculator. You gotta focus on speed, it's critical. Think of yourself as a day trader trying to get in the best possible trades before the books realize they're making a mistake and screwing things up. This is especially important if you are arbitrage betting. So arbitrage betting, I've been through it in other videos. You can watch a tutorial video. I've done tons of videos on arbitrage, but arbitrage is just when two sportsbooks have such different odds that you can bet the over on one book, the under on a different book to ensure a risk-free profit. So you can see Iron Bets, who is a power user of OddsJam and the live arbitrage tool. He locked in this play, made a risk-free profit, and I can guarantee you he's super fast. So be logged into your sportsbooks, use one-click bet, and really focus on speed. The best arbitrage bets, especially live, they are not gonna last forever. Sportsbooks are constantly adjusting their odds live, and the best opportunities, again, you gotta move fast to get them in. So the second piece of advice I have when live betting is only focus on stoppage. So you can see on OddsJam, there's a toggle for live and stoppage means the game is paused, right? So an inning break, a pitching change, if you're thinking about the MLB. In the NBA, obviously timeout breaks, quarter breaks, halftime. As I said earlier, these lines are flying around so quick when you're betting on a game. Think about an NBA game. try placing a live arbitrage bet or even just locking in a plus EV bet off the OddsJam positive EV tool while the game is in between possessions. It's nearly impossible. Baseball is obviously a little bit easier, but especially for the NBA and NFL, it's nearly impossible. Trying to bet on Mahomes' passing yards as the Chiefs are driving down the field. Every time he throws a pass, books are gonna lock their markets, adjust their lines and odds. It's too hard. I recommend just focusing on stoppage. That is a huge tip that really helped me increase my profits when I was live betting. So here you can see an example of an NBA arbitrage live bet that I locked in while the game was, I believe it was halftime. So this was on Adam Bana. I don't even know who he is, but it doesn't matter, right? So I bet on one book his over 9.5 points or 10 plus points at plus 110 odds for 450 bucks. On a different book, I got his under at plus 110, and I also bet 450. So again, arbitrage, you're not taking an opinion on if the player is going to go over or under. You're literally just day trading inefficiencies on the sports books to guarantee a risk-free profit. So think about it, right? On one book, I bet his over 9.5 points at plus 110 for 450 bucks. So I'm betting 450 to profit 495. So same thing with the under on a different book. So if he goes over, I win my over, I win 495, I lose my under. So I make $45 profit. If he goes under 9.5 points, I lose my 450, I believe it was on DraftKings. I win 495 on the other book, and I make $45 risk-free profit. And what's amazing about arbitrage betting, especially live arbitrage betting, is you get your money back right away. Not exactly right away, but think about it. I bet $900 total, 450 on the over on book one, 450 on the under on book two. I bet $900 total. The game was at halftime, I believe. The second the game ends, in like an hour and a half, I have $45 in profit. So the power of arbitrage betting, especially live arbitrage, is how quickly your money compounds. I turned 900 bucks into 945 in like an hour. That's crazy, right? The stock market returns roughly 10% per year, and I turned 900 bucks into 945 just like that, that I get back in my account in just an hour or so. That's why live arbitrage betting is so amazing, and you'll see people talking about it all over social media. You can make a ton of money if you perfect live arbitrage betting. And again, my first two tips are focus on stoppage when the game is paused, and also be logged into your sports books and learn how to move fast. It's not that hard to do with one-click bet, but if you want to try out live arbitrage betting, even just arbitrage betting in general, I recommend start out with $1 bets, right? Even if you're only making 1 cent on every arbitrage bet, I think it's really valuable to get a feel for the sports books, how quickly they adjust lines, stuff like that, because obviously the worst thing that can happen, the only risk of arbitrage betting, it's risk-free profit sports betting, is if you lock in one bet and then you go over to the second bet and the odds have changed. That's the only way you get screwed when arbitrage betting, is if you place one bet and another book adjusts their odds quickly. So when you're live betting, so much of it boils down to speed. Are you able to get in the most profitable bets quickly? Which is why the first 2 points explain the importance of one-click bet, being logged into your sports book, stuff like that. The second thing is just focus. Right? Like, you also need to focus to get the best return on your time. You want to focus on bets that you're actually going to be able to lock in, right? Which means you want to focus on bets at stoppage. You want to look for live arbs on an NBA game when it's at halftime or at a quarter break. You don't want to do it in the middle of a possession. But anyways, one real big benefit of live betting is typically sportsbooks have higher betting limits. So not only are the plays more profitable, typically live arbitrage bets, you'll see higher profit margins compared to pre-match bets. And that should make sense. Like, as players are scoring, timeout breaks, players are getting subbed in and out, books are gonna have bigger line discrepancies. All these books set their own lines. Books can barely manage their odds and lines pre-match, so live betting is basically that on steroids. The third tip I wanted to recommend, and I think it's really important, is when you're live betting, bet the side with value first. So I'll give you a simple example is Will. He was able to lock in a middle bet. He took Jokic over 11.5 rebounds on one book. He bet his under 12.5 rebounds on another book. So he didn't even have risk on the line. Worst case, he was roughly breaking even. But if Jokic had exactly 12 boards, he would win the over 11.5 on Bet365, and he would win the under on FanDuel. That's a middle bet when books have different lines. So if you look at Bet365, what you'll notice is they had Jokic's over 11.5 rebounds at plus 120. Every other sportsbook had this around minus 200, minus 270. So clearly Bet365 was the outlier, the play with value. So if you're trying to lock in a middle bet, long story short, play the Bet365 side first. That seems to be the sportsbook that is, messing up and offering a bet with an edge. So if you're arbitrage or middle betting, which are hedged strategies, bet the side with value first, just in case the other bet moves, the other line moves. So let's just say, for example, FanDuel adjusted their odds on Jokic. Well, at least he has an amazing value play on Jokic's over locked in on Bet365. He has the over at plus 120 when every other book had this around minus 200. So arbitrage betting, just like middle betting, you're placing two bets on two different sports books. So when you're live betting, it's especially important to bet the side with value first. That, in my opinion, is going to be really helpful to you as you start live betting. So my fourth tip for live betting is probably so obvious that you're going to say, Alex, you're an idiot, we know that. But if you want to think about this on an hourly ROI basis, you want to be live betting when the most possible games are going on. Again, this is probably pretty obvious, but an NFL Sunday at 3 p.m. is way better. Yeah, I get it. It's a Sunday. Sunday, you may want to be your day off or sit back and watch football, but that is the best time to be live betting, right? As more games are happening, it becomes exponentially harder for the books to manage their lines. More games means more surface area for the books to cover, means there's only going to be bigger and bigger arbitrage bets. These books are going to screw up, especially the smaller books. Not FanDuel and DraftKings, but the Bet Rivers of the world, the smaller companies. They don't have unlimited resources, unlimited people at their company. So sometimes during, a 12-game NBA slate, there are just massive arbitrage middle bets. And if you want to maximize your hourly rate, you obviously want to focus on days, on times when the most possible games are going on. I'm all about maximizing profit. So when I am live arbitrage betting, unsurprisingly, I decide to spend 3 hours doing it when there's tons of NBA or NFL games going on. My final tip is do not get tilted, especially if you're live EV betting. I feel like people fall into the habit of placing one live bet, maybe on LeBron over 27.5 points, and then they just sit there and they watch the game, and then if LeBron doesn't score, they get super upset. Don't do that, right? Like when you're live arbitrage betting, I place ARBs, risk-free profit betting opportunities. I lock them in all night long. Some may only make $10, some $5. If there's not that many ARBs available, I'll take a free risk-free $5 that I get back in an hour once the game ends. But basically, you want to focus on volume. You want to focus on quantity, right? Some arbitrage bets make $100, some $20. I don't care. It's all free money, especially for arbitrage and middle betting. Similarly, with EV betting, which is the main strategy I use, positive EV, unlike arbitrage, you have risk. You're gonna have variance, ups and downs. But just as an example, tonight, you can see I placed over 60 bets, right? I placed over 60 bets. Nearly all of these bets were live. I'm finding bets with an edge, locking them in. I don't even check the score. I don't care. I'm solely a data-driven sports bettor. I find an edge, I place the bet. I know I have a mathematical advantage, and then I just let the math work itself out. If you have an edge, more bets is a good thing, right? Similar to being the best poker player in the world. If you're the best poker player in the world, you may sit at a table and get 2-7 and lose your first hand. That doesn't mean you get up and leave, right? You want to keep playing. If you're the best player and you have an edge, you know you're going to win long term, you want to play as many hands as possible. It's the same thing as a sports bettor. If you have an edge, you want to lock in as many bets as possible with an edge. You're basically creating a portfolio of wagers. Some will win, some will lose, but over the course of the long run, you're going to make money. A larger sample size reduces your variance. So I think this is really important. And again, one of my biggest tips for live betting, and this I think is really important, is when you're starting, it is a lot harder than pre-match betting. Again, because lines are flying around, things move fast. Start out only betting 10 cents, $1, $2, whatever, a cent, who cares, right? It's all to get a feel for the sports books. You can also track your bets, see your ROI, and as you see a positive ROI over a larger and larger sample size of bets, you'll start to gain confidence in your edge. And as you start to learn which sports books adjust lines faster, which books are slower to adjust, you'll kind of refine your process, right? This is a process. It's just like being a trader. You know, as a trader, when I worked on Wall Street, there would be trades I'd be like, okay, you know, from this guy, I probably have 2 minutes to think about if I want this or not, and then it may be gone. Whereas other people I know, I gotta give them an answer on the phone if I want this trade or not, or I'm not gonna get it. And if it's a really good trade, I'm gonna be pissed at myself. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video on live betting. You know, if you have any other questions about sharp, profitable sports betting, you know, comment them below, email me, DM me on Twitter. I don't care. I'm here to help. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day, guys.